And, just so people would know what we're talking about with the Jeffrey Sachs thing, I when this first came out, I didn't even believe it was real. Like, I was like, there's no way Trump put this up. But as you can see right here, it's under Donald Trump, Truth Social. And I'm going to play a part of the clip because I want to get, what do you think is in his mind on this? I mean, for the most part, Trump has been completely obsequious to Israel. I mean, you can look at the people that he put in his cabinet. All of these people are just, I would call them sociopaths. In a way that they act and the things that they have said, and this kind of strict obedience to this notion of genocide. If you want to shoot kids, fair enough. If you want to have kids freeze and babies freeze in the cold, fair enough. Israel has the right to defend itself, even as it valiantly, murders a baby. And so this is Jeffrey Sachs, given his astonishingly good commentary that Jeffrey Sachs typically gives. It's not the commentary. It's the fact that Donald Trump put this out on his own post.
The war in Syria. And you may actually hear from grown-up reporters who are lying through their teeth or ignorant beyond imagining that, oh, the war in Syria, yes, Russia intervened in Syria. Well, do you know that that Obama tasked the CIA to overthrow the Syrian government starting 4 years before Russia intervened? What kind of nonsense is that? And how many times did the New York Times report on Operation Timber Sycamore, which was the presidential order to the CIA to overthrow Bashar al-Assad? 3 times in 10 years. This is not democracy. This is a game. And it's a game of narrative. Why did the U.S. invade Iraq in 2003? Well, first of all, it was completely phony pretenses. It wasn't, oh, we were so wrong, they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. They actually did focus groups in the fall of 2002 to find out what would sell that war to the American people. Abe Shulsky, if you want to know the name of the PR genius. They did focus groups on the war. They wanted the war all the time. They had to figure out how to sell the war to the American people, how to scare the shit out of the American people. It was a phony war. Where did that war come from?
He gets to a certain point where he gets to Netanyahu and he says he's a sick son of a bitch. In that clip, in that exact same clip, when he gets to the end of that clip, he says Netanyahu pushed us into the war in Iraq, and he's a sick son of a bitch. So, yeah, Netanyahu apparently was supposed to show up at the inauguration, canceled. I don't know if they're directly related, but it could be, considering these things happen kind of back to back. What the hell? Like, I honestly have no context to put that in. I mean, there was a clip going back, I believe, Dialogue, what is it called? Dialogue something. His channel showed Dialogue Works, right? He played the clip of Donald Trump. This was years ago, where Donald Trump had apparently had a meeting with Mahmoud Abbas, and had a meeting with Netanyahu. He sat there with Abbas and thought, this man is grandfatherly. I like this guy. He seems to really want to end the conflict. He talked to the guy for hours. He goes to Netanyahu and hates him and says Netanyahu doesn't want to end the conflict. Netanyahu effectively wants to keep this war going and steal it all. And it was like honest, like it was an honest take, right? Anybody who's looking at this, who's not necessarily having these kind of political biases, is like, well, he obviously doesn't want to end the conflict. He wants to use this conflict as a way of expanding territory. And considering that the Netanyahu government was effectively working with Hamas, well, that kind of gets across the political machinations that was going into maintaining power and extending control. These days, you would never hear that come out of Trump's mouth. And then all of a sudden, this clip. We got about 2 minutes left. What do you think is going on here? What context can you place this in?
It could be a little bit personal because, as has been noted by others, Netanyahu was so quick to congratulate Joe Biden when he won, when he defeated Trump. And despite Trump's claims that the election was rigged, and he, commented on time, I think he, said, fuck him. That's how he felt about it. But is that the main driver of his current attitude towards Netanyahu? I don't think so. I think Trump probably grasps that war especially on the scale we're seeing in West Asia, is bad for business. It's very bad for business. It's not advancing the interests of the United States. Israel has been pummeling the bejesus out of Gaza for now 15 months. This week, they sustained quite significant casualties in northern Gaza, despite all the damage they've inflicted. There are reports that Hamas has recruited, because the population is so enraged against Israel, in excess of 10,000 new fighters.
Yeah,
They may even have more fighters now than they did before. So I think Trump is looking at this. He's looking at what's going on in Syria. He's listening to the Saudis, who are probably getting very, very concerned. He's seen the Red Sea shipping as being adversely affected by the efforts of Ansar Allah. This is not just affecting Israel. This is affecting the cost of shipping for other countries, particularly in Europe. And he's saying, this is just nuts. We got to bring this to an end. And Trump, when he wants to bring conflict to an end, he's kind of like a schoolmaster, and he, uses the carrot and the stick with both sides of the conflict. And so one of the things he's been saying is, if the hostages aren't returned, by the time I take office, the hostages Hamas has, all hell is going to break loose. So he's trying to place pressure on Hamas, but he realizes that if he only places pressure on one side, he's probably not going to get a deal that's sustainable. So he's trying to pressure both sides into making concessions, and he's using the same strategy with Russia, right? Kellogg, so others in his administration were going out and saying, if Russia doesn't sit down at the table and negotiate, we're going to, flood Ukraine with more weaponry. So he's using the carrot and the stick approach there as well to try to get both parties to talk to each other. I think that's what's most likely going on. And if that is what's going on, I don't know that his approach is necessarily going to be effective, but it's a good thing that the man is trying to bring that horror show to an end. Hopefully that's what he's trying to achieve.
Well, he did tell, the Muslim community that I'm going to end this war. Now, none of us believed him per se, because, over the context of the election, he was so, anything Israel did is great. Joe Biden is being too weak. All of this, rhetoric. But when he went to the Muslim community, he said, I'm going to end the war. I'm going to end the war. I'm going to end the war. He kept telling them, I'm going to end the war. He said, I'm going to end wars, not start them. And then the thing is, the people that he was putting into the administration, though, were just, cretins in regards to these kind of hawks. And so there's this question of whether or not Donald Trump is going to be able to control the animals that he got in his administration. By the same token, he also put people like Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. Yeah, it's just fascinating. We will see what that administration is like. He's not even in office yet. And Joe Biden is effectively receded into the background. So, but Dimitri, man, thank you for this. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I've wanted you on for a while. And we have audience members saying, this warrior needs to be here for longer. Let this warrior stay longer. You have a fan base here. So thank you for joining me, man. I really do appreciate it. Be safe on your travels, by the way.
Thank you, Jamal. I always enjoy our conversations. Take care.
Thanks, man. Dimitri Lascaris, he's a lawyer, journalist, and activist from Montreal, Quebec. In 2020, he ran for the leadership of the Green Party of Canada against the failure that is leaving Justin Trudeau. Have a good one, my man. Be safe. All right. And I